The Cult of Reaper. The darkest, guiltiest secret of the Visitors. A death cult veiled in the trappings of religion. Just as with the Scrin faction as a whole, there isn't much information on the sub-faction known as the Cult of Reaper, and what information we do know comes from the intelligence database. Throughout the many worlds beyond our own, few names have inspired as much fear and fascination as the Cult of Reaper. A mysterious, ritualistically violent Scrin caste that takes as its creed the brutal, public extermination of any being unwise enough to stand in the way of the race's advancement. Believed to have been established in aeons past as a First Strike native pacification force, the cult has since cloaked its purpose in religious overtones. The members regard it as their divine right to cleanse planets of any life forms perceived as potentially dangerous, with that definition determined almost entirely within the cult itself. Just like with the Cult of Traveler, there are various sects within the Cult of Reaper. The 17th sect are considered to be the most violent and destructive. So much so is their cruelty towards their adversaries, that even other Scrin groups would rather pretend that they don't exist. Reaper-17 has a strong proclivity for Tiberium infusion, far greater than that which the Scrin race requires in order to survive. This Tiberium addiction, which is seen by the sect as a form of religious fervor, has left many of its members horrifically mutated, but also immensely powerful. Though they are viewed as outcasts within their own society, Reaper-17 continues to plow their way through species that they believe pose a threat to the Scrin. And this crusade would lead them straight to the planet known as Earth. Because of the destructive nature of Reaper-17 and their fanatical addiction to Tiberium, they tend to focus on ground units and infusing their vehicles and infantry with Tiberium in order to make them even more powerful. They completely give up having strong air units such as the Devastator warships and planetary assault carriers. They also don't field any masterminds, as there is no need to control the enemy when your primary goal is to exterminate them. The first altered unit of the Reaper cult is the Shielded Harvester. The only thing that separates this unit from the other Scrin Harvesters is that this one by default comes equipped with a shield, allowing it to absorb some damage. This is due to the fact that because Reaper are typically found constantly engaged on the front lines, even their non-combat units need to have some extra protection in order to have a better chance of surviving, or at the very least extend its life on the battlefield. In addition to the Shielded Harvesters, the Reaper sect also comes with a special structure called the Growth Stimulator. This works very similarly to the Growth Accelerator, in that it accelerates Tiberium growth in the fields by 50%. But thanks to 4 small additional extractors attached to the stimulator, it is also capable of mining Tiberium deposits underground, allowing it to generate income in a similar way to Tiberium spikes. Believing the Scrin Gunwalker to be an antiquated relic, barely useful against anything but the most primitive of cultures, the Cult of Reaper took upon themselves the task of returning this once storied combatant to relevance. After a prolonged period of ritualistic, Tiberium-fueled experimentation, the cult revealed their new Shard Walker. A being of equal parts machinery, flesh, and pure Tiberium, the Shard Walker is everything that the Gunwalker was not: fast, tough, and capable of projecting chunks of pure Tiberium at a rapid, devastating pace. As per the description, the Shard Walker is a vastly improved version of the Gunwalker, able to shoot shards of Tiberium quickly at high speeds, allowing it to do more damage. It is especially effective against infantry and flying vehicles, making it a superb anti-aircraft unit. The unit can enhance its destructive capabilities with an upgrade called Blue Shards. Instead of firing green Tiberium shards, it will fire more potent blue Tiberium shards. This effect also applies to Ravager infantry units in the Reaper's arsenal as well. And last, but certainly not least, the Reaper cult also has their own unique version of the Annihilator tripod, which they call the Reaper tripod. As with their other units, the Reaper tripod is infused with Tiberium, making it stronger than the Annihilator. Through a process called conversion beam, the Reaper tripod can charge its weapons. This is done by absorbing Tiberium from fields or allied harvesters and refineries. One can tell when the beam is charged due to its color. A charged tripod will fire green-colored beams, whereas the non-charged tripod will fire the standard blue-colored beams. They can even increase their storage capacity of Tiberium through an upgrade called Conversion Reserves. Not only can the Reaper tripods conduct this infusion and conversion of Tiberium, but so too can Devourer tanks in their arsenal, making both vehicles more powerful and devastating compared to their counterparts. Other armaments that are exclusive to the Cult of Reaper are shard launchers. This allows them to upgrade their photon cannons, plasma missile batteries, and seeker tanks to launch green Tiberium shards instead of plasma discs, increasing the amount of damage that these defensive structures and vehicles can do. Reaper also has the ability to teleport in 3 veteran squads of shock troopers through an ability called shock pods, allowing them to bring in reinforcements almost anywhere on the battlefield. The only known event involving Reaper-17 occurred during the Third Tiberium War in the year 2049. The Brotherhood of Nod had tracked the location of the Tacitus, an ancient and powerful alien artifact, to China, where it was being escorted by elements of GDI's Special Forces Zocom division to a shipyard in order to be relocated elsewhere. Because Nod did not have a substantial naval force to intercept the Tacitus at sea, Kane ordered his AI Legion to intercept the convoy and retrieve the artifact before it could make it to port. The Brotherhood already had a base established in the area when Legion took command. It was able to use Nod forces to damage the MCV containing the Tacitus, and force it to deploy in order to defend itself. Other Zocom forces in the area then began attacking the Nod base as both sides fought for control of the MCV. The Brotherhood would ultimately prevail over Zocom, capturing the MCV with a saboteur. However, just as Nod began to bring the now captured Tacitus to a rendezvous point where they could extract it, Reaper-17 showed up in force and began destroying everything in their path, attacking both Zocom and Nod forces. While fending off the Reaper assaults, Nod was able to successfully transport the Tacitus to the rendezvous point. However, before Kane could enact his plan to connect Legion to the Tacitus, his second-in-command, Alexa Kovacs, infected the AI with a virus, preventing said connection. The Nod base would then go on to be destroyed by Reaper-17, and allow what was left of the Zocom forces to retrieve the Tacitus, which would ultimately be relocated to the Rocky Mountains complex in North America. Although Reaper-17 may have made an impact on the Nod and GDI forces that they went up against in China, there unfortunately isn't any other information of other battles that they participated in during the Third Tiberium War. I have no doubt that they did engage with other human forces from both sides during the invasion of Earth, and have to imagine that any battles fought with the Reaper sect would have been among the most devastating of all during the Third War, due to the violent and destructive fervor of Reaper-17. And it wouldn't surprise me in a possible future second invasion of Earth, that the Scrin would have the Cult of Reaper leading the charge against the human defenders. For if subjugation via the Traveler sect isn't an option, then the only alternative is extermination.